Welcome to U.S. Media Power.
Greenland, the vast icy expanse in the Arctic, has long captured the imagination of explorers, strategists, and world leaders. Its rugged terrain, untapped natural resources, and strategic location make it a jewel in the Northern Hemisphere, a land both beautiful and geopolitically vital. Yet, in early 2026, this frozen island became the unlikely center of a storm that intertwined personal ambition with global diplomacy. The world watched in astonishment as President Donald J. Trump linked his persistent efforts to acquire Greenland directly to his failure to win the Nobel Peace Prize, creating a diplomatic controversy that sent shockwaves across Europe and the United States alike. In January, President Trump sent an extraordinary letter to Norway's Prime Minister Jonas Gahr Støre. In it, he admitted that because he had not received the Nobel Peace Prize, he no longer felt obligated to prioritize peace above all else. He wrote, "Considering your country decided not to give me the Nobel Peace Prize for having stopped 8 wars plus, I no longer feel an obligation to think purely of peace, although it will always be predominant, but can now think about what is good and proper for the United States of America." The message, remarkable in its candor, quickly became public, igniting debates over the role of personal ego in international policy decisions. What many considered a personal grievance had now crossed into the realm of global strategy, directly influencing U.S. ambitions in the Arctic. The letter did more than express disappointment. Trump explicitly tied his frustration to Greenland, asserting that the United States should have complete and total control over the island. This declaration reverberated through diplomatic channels, leaving European allies stunned. Denmark, the sovereign nation responsible for Greenland, immediately criticized the statement, emphasizing the island's self-governing status and the importance of respecting its autonomy. Analysts were quick to point out that the president's decision to intertwine personal recognition with territorial strategy represented an unprecedented departure from conventional diplomacy, raising questions about the intersection of ego, power, and policy. The geopolitical significance of Greenland cannot be overstated. Located strategically between North America and Europe, the island serves as a vital link in Arctic defense and global surveillance. The United States maintains a strong military presence, collaborating with Denmark and Greenlandic authorities to monitor Arctic activity and maintain stability. Greenland's vast mineral resources, including rare earth elements, make it highly attractive to major world powers, including Russia and China. The combination of strategic location and resource wealth explains why any attempt to claim control over Greenland would have wide-ranging implications for global security and economic stability. In addition to strategic considerations, the public response was immediate and passionate. Thousands of Greenlanders took to the streets, waving flags and chanting slogans asserting their sovereignty. Protests in Nuuk, the capital, and in Copenhagen highlighted the islanders' determination to resist coercion. The demonstrations underscored that Greenlanders viewed the U.S. overtures not as gestures of friendship, but as threats to their autonomy. Political analysts noted that this grassroots response demonstrated the power of civic engagement and the importance of respecting local voices in matters of international negotiation. European governments quickly mobilized to respond to the unfolding crisis. NATO allies convened emergency meetings to assess the implications of the letter, discussing potential diplomatic and economic measures to counteract U.S. pressure. Officials in Brussels emphasized that territorial sovereignty could not be overridden by personal ambition or economic coercion. France, Germany, and other key European nations publicly condemned the notion of using tariffs as leverage, warning that such tactics could erode the foundations of long-standing alliances. The incident illuminated the delicate balance between maintaining strategic partnerships and asserting national interests, showing how personal motivations can ripple outward to affect international order. The context surrounding the Nobel Peace Prize adds another layer to this story. In 2025, the prestigious award had been granted to Venezuelan opposition leader Maria Corina Machado for her efforts to promote democracy and human rights. Machado, in a symbolic gesture, later presented her physical Nobel medal to President Trump, thanking him for his perceived support in global freedom initiatives. Yet the Nobel Committee maintained that the prize itself was non-transferable, a decision that clearly disappointed Trump. His subsequent reaction, tying this personal snub to strategic ambitions in Greenland, blurred the line between symbolic recognition and tangible policy action, illustrating the profound influence of personal validation on leadership decisions. International observers were alarmed at the implications of this linkage. Experts warned that when personal sentiments dictate territorial policy, traditional frameworks of international law and diplomacy can be undermined. Professor Helge Lundquist, a geopolitical analyst, commented, "This is a fundamental departure from normative diplomacy. When a leader allows personal recognition or the lack thereof to shape national policy, it challenges the credibility of international agreements and alliances." The situation forced allies and adversaries alike to reconsider assumptions about the United States' reliability and the stability of long-standing partnerships. The economic dimension of the controversy also drew significant attention. In addition to territorial claims, the letter hinted at potential tariffs on European imports if negotiations over Greenland did not advance favorably. This economic coercion was met with immediate concern in Brussels and other European capitals, where trade officials warned that retaliatory measures could disrupt supply chains and slow economic growth. Analysts highlighted that leveraging economic policy to influence territorial negotiations risked undermining decades of trust between the United States and its European allies, threatening both economic stability and international collaboration. Within the United States, public and political reactions were sharply divided. Conservative commentators praised the president's assertiveness, describing it as a strategic move to secure national interests. Meanwhile, critics cautioned that mixing personal grievances with foreign policy could destabilize alliances, jeopardize security partnerships, and diminish the credibility of American leadership on the global stage. Polls suggested that many Americans were uneasy with the rhetoric, reflecting broader concerns about the balance between national ambition and responsible governance. As tensions mounted, it became evident that Greenland was more than a frozen island. It had become a symbol of the complex interplay between personal ambition, national strategy, and international norms. The combination of territorial significance, resource potential, and strategic location created a perfect storm, illustrating how a personal disappointment, when magnified by political power, can have global consequences. The unfolding crisis demonstrated that leadership decisions, however personal in origin, can reverberate across continents and impact the course of international relations. The Arctic's icy expanse remained a silent witness to an extraordinary unfolding of events. What began as President Donald Trump, as personal disappointment over failing to win the Nobel Peace Prize, had transformed into a diplomatic and geopolitical crisis. His letter to Norway's Prime Minister, in which he linked the snub to his pursuit of Greenland, reverberated across the globe, sending shockwaves through European capitals, rattling NATO, and drawing unprecedented attention to one of the world's most remote lands. Greenland, with its vast glaciers, strategic location, and untapped natural resources, suddenly became the focal point of a story that blended personal ambition, national strategy, and international tension. European governments responded with both urgency and condemnation. Denmark immediately reaffirmed its sovereignty over Greenland, emphasizing the island's right to self-governance and the importance of respecting its autonomy. Brussels became a hub of emergency consultations, as EU and NATO officials convened to assess the implications of Trump's message. Leaders stressed that no nation, regardless of its power or influence, could justify territorial ambitions on the basis of personal grievance. French, German, and Norwegian officials publicly warned that coercive tactics and threats undermined long-standing alliances and could erode trust among nations that had for decades relied on cooperation and shared strategic interests. Economic repercussions were also a critical concern. Trump's letter hinted at potential U.S. tariffs on European imports should Greenland negotiations not proceed according to his ambitions. The prospect of economic coercion from a close ally alarmed European policymakers, who feared retaliatory measures could escalate into a broader transatlantic trade conflict. Analysts warned that such measures could disrupt global supply chains, create market instability, and weaken the long-term economic partnership between the United States and Europe. The episode revealed how personal sentiment, when tied to policy, could extend beyond diplomacy and reshape economic strategy with far-reaching consequences. Amid these high-level maneuvers, the voices of Greenlanders themselves became central to the narrative. Thousands marched through Nuuk and smaller towns across the island, waving flags and carrying banners that declared, "Hands off Greenland," and "Sovereignty first." These demonstrations, some of the largest in Greenland's modern history, underscored a determined insistence on self-determination. Local leaders emphasized that Greenland's future must be decided by its people, not dictated by foreign powers or influenced by the personal ambitions of world leaders. The protests captured international attention, highlighting the human dimension often overshadowed in discussions of geopolitics. The people of Greenland became the moral center of a story that spanned continents, reminding the world that the consequences of global policy are always human at their core. Experts around the globe recognized the unprecedented nature of the situation. Geopolitical analysts observed that when personal grievances inform national policy, the frameworks of international law and diplomacy are tested in ways rarely seen. Professor Helge Lundqvist, a noted expert in Arctic security, remarked, "When ego shapes foreign policy, credibility, alliances, and long-term stability can all be jeopardized." This is a departure from conventional norms, and the consequences are felt not just diplomatically but across military and economic channels. For NATO allies, the letter posed a difficult challenge: how to respond to a partner whose policy decisions appeared motivated by symbolic recognition rather than strategic necessity. The Arctic's strategic importance amplified these concerns. Greenland's location, bridging North America and Europe, provides critical access to military monitoring, early warning systems, and shipping lanes. Its wealth of minerals, including rare earth elements essential for modern technology, makes it a target of interest for multiple global powers, including Russia and China. Historically, the United States has maintained a presence in Greenland to support both defense and research, collaborating closely with Denmark and Greenlandic authorities. Any attempt to assert unilateral control could disrupt regional security and provoke responses from other global actors, creating risks of confrontation in one of the planet's most sensitive areas. The symbolic dimension of the Nobel Peace Prize also loomed large. Awarded to Venezuelan opposition leader Maria Corina Machado and Ardingarawu, the prize represents global recognition of efforts toward peace and humanitarian action. Although Machado presented her physical medal to President Trump as a symbolic gesture, the committee made clear that the award itself could not be transferred. Nevertheless, the president's response revealed the profound influence of symbolic recognition on leadership psychology. A single gesture, intended as a token of goodwill, became a catalyst for strategic policy decisions with global consequences. Ultimately, the Greenland episode illustrates the intricate interplay between personal ambition, national strategy, and international norms. A symbolic disappointment, amplified by the power of office, became a geopolitical flashpoint that challenged alliances, threatened economic stability, and raised questions about the responsibilities of leadership. From the streets of Nuuk to the halls of Brussels, the world witnessed a remarkable lesson in how personal motivations can shape the course of international affairs. Greenland, once a quiet and distant land, became a symbol of sovereignty, strategy, and the delicate balance between ambition and responsibility. As the Arctic sun set over glaciers and fjords, one truth emerged. In a world of interconnected nations, the choices of a single leader can reverberate across borders. Affect lives far beyond their immediate sphere and redefine the very meaning of power and diplomacy. The storm after the snub would be studied for years to come, a vivid reminder of how closely personal and political realities are entwined in shaping the modern world.